Landon Jones, Kayla Stockman, Bailey Paris, and Alex Mendez were district champions, Area 8 champions, and they were the 11th place chapter conducting team in the state out of 224 teams. Congratulations. We're so proud of you. Yeah, a couple more. Our newspapers have to get a pick. Awesome. Guys, thank you so much for being here, and congratulations. And our FFA members and parents, y'all are welcome to stay, or you can scoot on out of here. No, you do not. No, sir. They are. They're here. Okay. Okay. Okay, yeah, sorry. All right. January is School Board Appreciation Month. And we cannot think of a better group of people to celebrate this month. You spend so many hours working to make this district a better place, to make sure our students and our staff succeed, and we are so appreciative of everything that you do. In your honor, you'll see at your place, School Board Appreciation Month this year, the theme is Planting Seeds of Success, and our elementary librarians chose this book. There's a book plate in each one, but in each of our elementary libraries, as well as Turner's Library, this book will go in to honor this board. Mr. Schofield, it is not for you to take home and read before bed, so please, please do leave them, and we'll get them to the libraries, but it's just a token to show how much we appreciate y'all. In addition, State Representative John Ray sent a proclamation in honor of the board. I'd like to read that real quick. Whereas school board members play an integral role in the education of our children, and the observance of School Board Recognition Month in January 2019 provides a welcome opportunity to honor the trustees of the Waxahachie Independent School District, and whereas, working in conjunction with administrators, classroom teachers, and parents, the Board of Trustees furthers the district's mission of providing students with the knowledge and skills necessary to become successful and productive citizens. Its responsibilities include setting policy and ensuring the efficient operation of school facilities, with the goal of fostering an optimal learning environment for all students in the district. And whereas the dedicated individuals presently serving on the Waxahachie ISD Board of Trustees are President Dusty Autry, Vice President Clay Schofield, Secretary Jed McCutcheon, and members Kim Kriegel, John Rogers, Melissa Starnader, and Dr. Joe Langley. The district is ably guided by Interim Superintendent Dr. Bonnie Kane. And whereas these notable Texans have demonstrated an exemplary commitment to area students, and through their vision and leadership, they are now contributing immeasurably to the future of the Lone Star State. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the members of the Waxahachie Independent School District Board of Trustees be commended for their service to the community, and that each of them be extended sincere best wishes for continued success in this important work. Thank you so much for all you do. One thing that we noticed around here is that we have photos of all of our superintendents lining the staircase, except for one that we're not sure who's missing.
He was around about in 1895.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a little chunk missing there, but we want to honor our boards in that same way. We want our future generations to be able to look back and say, oh, those were the people who helped shape what this district does. So you can see our little flags falling back here. But we have created a wall where group board pictures will be hung from now on. So we appreciate everything you do.
Langley, how many years ago, Mr. Langley?
Yes.
But we would like to honor our board and thank them.
Yes.
We wanted to do a little transition because we do have pictures of the board, and we have two former school board members, Mr. Fox and
Mr. Offier.
Mr. Offier.
Yes.
Oh, there he is. I see. So if y'all, did you want to say something like you are the board that left this board to carry on the work, and you didn't know about board service, Mr. Fox?
Step forward to the microphone, Mr. Fox.
I don't have any much to say, but I got the honor of serving on the board for 9 years, and I enjoyed every bit of it. And there's a lot of things that people don't know about being on the school board. It's if you do it right, you work hard. It's not an easy task, and I always tried to do it right. I did everything that I could for the students and the teachers and the people of Waxahachie. I've lived here all my life and graduated from here, and it's special to me. I tried to be at everything I could possibly be at. I'm sounding like I'm patting myself on the back, but I'm not. It's just something that you've got to do to be a part, because you can't run the business of the school if you don't know firsthand what's going on. So I just want you to know that I enjoyed it very much, and I feel good about the things that we did when we were here. I also want to commend everybody that's on the board now. And last year it was a paradise for people getting on the board, because Matt retired, James retired, and I retired. So it was we welcomed 3 more people, and good people. And appreciate y'all, appreciate everybody that I got to serve with. And just want you to know that it'll always be a good thing in my mind, all the things that we got accomplished and everything. And my wife, she's always with me, and I appreciate that. She's always come to every board meeting. I think probably that's something that meant a lot to me, is I always had my family support. My daughter Jennifer, son Justin, and my wife Terry. From when we were campaigning and doing those things, they were always right there by my side. And I appreciate that. And I wish all of y'all to be so lucky, because that's the best thing in life. And thank all of you for letting me serve, and good luck to everything at WISD.
Mr. Offier, follow that up.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to follow that up. I actually came to speak later in the meeting, so this is a surprise, but thank you for the opportunity to do so. I was only on the board for 3 years, so I can't really tell you what all I learned, but I'll tell you what happened after is I lost about 10 pounds. I sleep a lot better, and I don't have to sit with my back facing the door, or I can sit with my back facing the door at a restaurant or when I go outside. So you have a lot to look forward to when you get off. But in all seriousness, you guys, in a short period of time since us 3 got off the board, have been able to achieve something that we never could, and that was cohesiveness. That was being able to operate as a team. I'm envious of that. It's something we sure tried hard to do, but just could not do it. And I can already see that from you guys in a short 7 months. I don't know what your trick is. Maybe y'all are all stressed out and you just hide it really well, but you're doing something right. And that's certainly towards the leadership of Dr. Kane. I appreciate you stepping in and not missing a beat. I remember I got to tour the high school with her on her first day in the campus, and she walked up to a teacher. I think it was a new teacher at the high school, and she said, "So are you a pretty good teacher?" And he said, "Well, I'm not real sure yet." She said, "Well, we're not going to have that here." You're going to be a good teacher. And I remember stepping back, and Mr. Autry was there too. I remember stepping back, and it was just like that from every door she went into, the connection and the expectation that she had from our staff. And I appreciate that. So thank you for the opportunity to do it. It was a great honor to serve. I'm happy where I'm at right now, watching you guys do a great job. So thank you.
And board, we have one final presentation that I'm going to step aside for. We have a group who wants to honor a couple of our trustees sitting up here right now. So y'all come on up.
Good evening. My name is Jillian Kucherowski. I'm the Vice President at Coolidge FFA. Here with me tonight is Christian Martinez, Erica Samaniego, and our Ag teacher, Ms. Vargas. We would like to show our appreciation for your help and support by presenting this plaque. Our Coolidge Ag department suffered a significant loss. Students from elementary to high school were faced with a difficult decision: come up with the money to replace their animal or not participate in the county fair this year. However, because of Mr. Dusty Autry, Mr. Clay Schoolfield, and Mr. James Glenn's generosity, all the students' animals were able to be replaced. We are here tonight to recognize these individuals and their act of kindness. Thank you.
He managed to sneak away, Mr. Glenn did. Thank y'all for coming all this way.
Dr. Kane, thank you. This is there. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate y'all. Thank you so much, Gordon.
I don't really like surprises, but you got me on that one. Wasn't expecting that. And I'm speaking for myself, but I think I got more out of that than those kids did. There's two other individuals that participate in that as well that aren't here tonight. Daryl Nay and Mr. Schoolfield's father was also a contributor to that. So they need to have some credit as well. And I can tell you, I can't tell a better organization that that a school district can turn out as FFA kids. I know there's at least 3 of us sitting up here that went through that program, and I can tell you, I'll always be a supporter of them no matter where it's at. Okay, so next thing on our agenda would be our open forum. We have one individual signed up to speak. Mr. Authier, would you please step forward to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, please. I'll inform you have 5 minutes to speak.
He told me 2 minutes, so I'm going to be real fast.
I told him too.
I'm trying to get out of here as quick as I can.
Okay, I will let you know when you have 1 minute left, okay?
Right.
Go ahead, Mr. Authier.
Sure. Matt Authier, 300 Magnolia Drive, Waxahachie, Texas. Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Dr. Kane and board members. First, I want to thank you for your service in spirit of Board Appreciation Month. Your commitment to serve our community is not unnoticed. I've been on that side of the table when someone's used this same microphone to use some not so nice words about some decisions that we made, but I promise this won't be one of those times. In all seriousness, thank you for your time and the wonderful job that your team of 8 is doing for WISD. It's certainly being noticed around our community. Before I get into what I'm speaking about tonight, I want to take a moment and just make sure that you guys are aware of a training opportunity that the district puts on every year called iNation. I've had the privilege of presenting at that for the last 3 years, teaching with Mr. Calden and Jason Bang, a local financial professional. And I would put that one day of training up against any other training in the state of Texas. The smiles that our teachers have, the keynote from start to finish, it's just an opportunity like none other. From somebody not in the education sector coming in and listening to that, I learned probably more from that than any training I've ever done in the corporate world. So to Ms. Blaylock, to Ms. Sierra and their teams, certainly kudos to you guys for that worthy event. And I hope the board will continue to support things like that in the future. I'm here tonight to speak to you about what I think is the most important subject a person can learn in public education, and that's personal financial literacy. For the last 2 years, a group of local professionals through the Waxahachie Project have been going into classrooms at Waxahachie High School, Global High, and even Life School High School to come alongside staff members and bring financial literacy lessons to life. In fact, Mr. Schofield and Mr. McCutcheon have both joined us in the classroom to teach on insurance and banking respectively, and I appreciate that. At the current time, TEA, the state of Texas, requires that school offer personal financial literacy, but it doesn't require students to take it. Global has actually been a trendsetter in that they do require their students to take it. I've admired Ken Lynch for making that a requirement for his students, and I think they'll benefit greatly because of it. Waxahachie High School does have it in the catalog, and in fact, this past fall was the first semester that they had a class make. That's a great step. The small step that it was, though, was there was only 12 students enrolled. So 0.5% of the student population of WHS was in that personal financial literacy class. So this is not a complaint where someone stands up here and tells you what you're doing wrong or what you need to do better, but rather an opportunity for the district and an organization that stands by ready to help. Through the Waxahachie Project, we have 15 to 20 local professionals, many of which graduated from Waxahachie, that are ready to step into those classrooms and provide that side-by-side experience with the teacher to bring those TEKs that they're required to teach to life. I think the best way to do that, and my ask of you tonight, is to require an elective, be it a half year, 1 semester, whatever that might look like. There's far smarter people in the room that can decide that, but to require that for graduation from any WISD student. Our mission statement at WISD reads that we are to develop through a cooperative effort with the home and community, well-educated, responsible citizens who can excel in a complex world. We have an opportunity here with personal financial literacy to check every box in that mission statement. We have a community that's ready to serve and a need that's ready to be met. Sending someone to an Ivy League school doesn't count for much when 3 years out of that school they can't afford the debt that it took to get there. Or if someone graduates with a perfect GPA but in 5 years have far subpar credit. Or if we give the gift to a child of learning a second language so that they can ace a job interview and get a job, but they don't know how to fill out their W-4, their 401k statement, or to sign up for a health insurance plan. So my question is, what does the successful and well-rounded graduate of WISD look like? Keep in mind, I'd put our graduates, and I've always would put our graduates against any other graduate in the state of Texas when it comes to being well-rounded. But this is just one more step that we can make to give them an edge up on the competition. In fact, if we required this from our students, we would join only 20% of students across the country that are required to take personal financial literacy at some point in public education. In a similar poll, only 25% of millennials, of which I'm on the upper echelon of that, 33 and above, or below, sorry, would say that they're somewhat, even moderately financially literate, 25% across our country. So I think a small change, there's a ton, I looked through the course catalog last night, there are a ton of electives that our students can pick from, but if we could require 1 half credit course
1 minute
for our students, that it could be life-altering for every student that walks across the stage at a WISD campus. I want to thank you again. I want you to know that we're here to help. This is not something, a mandate that we're putting on you. It's something I think you should strongly consider, something I regret not bringing up 3 years ago when I was in your spot. And I want to thank you again for your service, your commitment to our students of Waxahachie ISD, and the important tasks that you've taken on for our children and educators. Thank you, Board.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you, sir. Okay, next on our agenda will be an update from Corrigan on North Grove Elementary.
All right, thank you all. This is just to update y'all on where we're at from North Grove. We met back in November before all the holidays, so I'm sure it's completely gone by then. But currently, we're about 50% done through the construction documents. We've left a full set of the 50% with Shelley. We'll keep it here in the office. Anyone who wants to stop by, look through the entire set of documents. Ask any questions, if you develop any questions, you can relay them through. We're happy to answer, but it's hard in a little presentation to capture everything. So there's a full set here for anyone that wants to review it. Just a little context. You've all seen it, but we've kind of replaced this now with our building. This is where we sit within the development. You see, we're right down that center axis. And we're trying to make use of that center access as a defining point for the entry of the school. A little more development on the site plan. Our civil engineers involved. We've been working through with different departments on drop-off areas, pickup areas, bus loop. We've got all that separated out. Mr. Perry helped facilitate a meeting with the city, so we've got meetings with the planning and zoning department already taken care of, and got them on board, got their comments on what they'd like to see before we end up submitting. You see, we're using that main entry down the front. We have a completely separate service entry in the back so that we don't have mixing of deliveries for the food, kitchen, dumpsters, all that can come off the back and not interfere with traffic. And then our bus loop is what's off to the east there, completely separated from parents. I can come back to any of these if y'all have questions. See a little more updated on the plan. We have our pods identified with 4th and 5th are the upstairs like we had discussed. 2nd and 3rd, kindergarten and 1st group together, all arranged around a central courtyard. Again, our big community use areas up at the front and the back. Exterior, this is what we looked at back in November. We presented some different schemes. We decided we wanted that classical look, so we've been taking these and developing them much in line with the current high school or the new high school. And then these were some of the precedents that we had looked at. So here's what we're looking at for the front. This is what you'll see coming down that main drive. That's the 4th and 5th upstairs, administration, and SPED is down below. That'd be kind of an angle where you can see the different pods. That's the kindergarten, 1st grade pod down below or behind the front entry. And kind of looking at the back side, cafeteria, gym. I think that is it. Happy to answer any questions or
Any questions?
any comments.
I can't really, yes, I have a question. I can't really tell, are there steps to go, it looks like there are 4 minimal steps to go up? In the front? In the front?
I don't know that we have the whole grading. We were kind of matching what we've done in the high school as far as look. I don't know that the grading is complete to know, but if there are steps there, we'll have, ramps off to the side like at the front of the high school.
Okay.
Can you detail our security features at all, as far as entry, limited access, minimizing the entry points, et cetera?
But there is a secure vestibule at the front. Any visitors that comes in there has to go through the reception area to get into the rest of the building. All the other doors that you see on the outside are either behind gates, fences, or they have a
Key card.
key card. There's some sort of controlled access to get through them, and there's position indicators on the doors. If something is left open or propped open, it can be set to set off a warning so that someone in the office knows that a door's been left open. Each of the pods, you can see, is able to be locked down independently. And then the classrooms behind that are able to be locked down. So you have 2 points to get through on those aspects. Security, we're working through camera locations. There's gonna be all sorts. I don't know how much you want me to go into on all that, but.
And capacity of students, what is it?
600? 650?
650, right?
I think that's the ultimate capacity. I think we were talking about it being.
650 is our model.
Right, 650 is the ultimate capacity. I think when it opens, I think the projection was like 550 or something opening, and then you have the room for the growth to the 650.
I can't remember what our day is that we need to start construction to be complete on time. I believe it was April. I know you're not our contractor, but do you see anything on your end that would prevent that from happening?
No, as a matter of fact, we have been working with them. They've taken our 50% drawings and looking at the cost. We have meetings with them. They need about 15 months for construction. So we were looking to issue drawings towards the end of February, give them time to bid it, put the numbers together and develop a GMP. But back from, as long as they're breaking ground,
April, May?
April, May-ish, I think that we're okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have one. Can someone speak to just staff involvement in this whole process along the way, just so it's, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. I'm very proud of this. We have, along the way, as we started this project, have been receiving input from a core group of individuals. It's a good cross-section from our district, both administrators, teachers, and paraprofessionals that are a guiding body for us as we're going through this. We continue to consult that advisory group as we get updates on that floor plan. Those meetings have happened twice. Right before the holiday, I met with all elementary principals and we presented to them the tentative but first draft of the floor plan to get their insight on where areas were located, and they were able to give us some good insight just on thinking about management of a building, some wise decisions and some not so wise decisions. So we were able to make many of those changes already. And then in addition, we continue to bring this information to our district leadership team, and we'll also be giving an update. We can give that also to our district advisory team. So we have a group that has been going alongside us. In addition, we've also met with a group to talk to us about technology integration into this building and called in some individuals that are using our newest technology across the district to give us insight as to how that would best help us make this building progressive, but not so far beyond the rest of the buildings that we can't catch them up with us. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much. You're off the hot seat. Okay, next on our agenda is the possible pursuit of city zoning with the city of Waxahachie. I know we talked a few minutes in our workshop about zoning and whatnot as far as the use of our land at the new high school site. It's not listed as an action item. It was more of a discussion item. I think we covered the majority of that in our workshop. Is there anything else anyone would like to add? Anyone? Okay. We'll move on to letter C, global high school expansion possibilities. Is that you, Dr. Kane?
Yes, sir. Well, it starts out, Mr. Calden is going to talk about the cost, because I think the question is,
Board, at your request, I prepared a very, very simple analysis that tried to guesstimate at what the revenues and expenditures would be at the campuses. The expenditures are actually fairly easy to go in and come up with a pretty accurate number because those are coded in such a way that makes that easily trackable. The revenues, on the other hand, though, are a little bit difficult because most of the revenues are derived off of weighted average daily attendance. And there's not a real good assumption model that flows from any one year or any one campus to the next because every student is unique. And so their funding is unique in accordance. So with that being said, the analysis that you have just really goes to point out that on the global sheet, as their enrollment has been decreasing over the last couple of years, their net expenditures per student have been going up, which is exactly the relationship you would expect. As you have fewer students, your cost per student is going to increase. At this point now, it appears that just based off the rudimentary calculations that the net cost of a student at Global is very equivalent to the net cost of a student at Waxahachie High School. And so as you can see, though, over the last 4 years, though, if you go back to 14-15, the net cost of a student at Global was approximately $4,200. The net cost at Waxahachie High School about $5,800. So as that enrollment, which at that point was about 420 students, and it's come down to about 350 this year. So as that enrollment goes down, you're going to see an increase in those per student net costs. So I hope this was helpful to you in kind of looking at where we are with revenues and expenditures. But as of right now, the revenues and expenditures between Global High School and Waxahachie High School are very much in line with each other.
So President Autry, the first issue was what are the costs? The second is that what could we do if it's the desire of the community and the board to increase that enrollment? What could we do to make it more attractive? And Ms. Blaylock's been working with Mr. Lynch on, if you could update us, Ms. Blaylock, on the academy, the health academy.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Kane. Based on the current interest of students across Waxahachie, Mr. Lynch currently has, I think as of Thursday, 52 applications. 51 of those are Waxahachie ISD resident students, and one of them is outside of the district. We have opened this application 2 months early this year, and we've also taken all 8th grade students on a tour of the building. Mr. Lynch's team, they let them meet the students, find out about all of the opportunities they would have at Global High School and the student programs that are available to them. In addition, the academies was the part of that conversation. The students of the applications received, 26 of those students are interested in the Health Sciences Academy. I believe 22 of them are interested in the STEM and engineering, and 4 of those were interested in international business. So as we're discussing what is best decision making for our district, it is clear that at this time, the International Business Academy does not look like it's as appealing to our students as the Health Sciences Academy does. We currently have our dean hired, as you guys approved that last month. She is on site and is outstanding. She's very personable and knowledgeable about nursing careers and is doing a lot to help us discuss course selection, myself and Mr. Boshier and Mr. Lynch, so we can make the best choices for our students.
Any questions about the academies? There's other things that we would like to consider if the intent is to grow global as much as possible. One is there is an idea that there's never been room for electives, because when you look at the all the requirements to graduate with a degree, that you can skip the first 2 years of college with your associate's degree. But there are other students and parents who, although they would like to gain a lot of credit, they would like their child to have more of that high school experience, so they might be happy with 1.5 years of credit and the child be in a smaller setting or a different setting. So in that case, we would be looking at some electives, and some things that we've been basing it on is on page 64. Ms. Blaylock had done a interest survey from some junior highs. Now, understanding when a junior high student says they're interested in something today, that may not mean that tomorrow they're still interested. And some kids who might say they would not consider global, they actually would. So this is just kind of a guidance, but I think the the prudent thing to do would be to look at the kinds of things that we could put there. For an example, I think you said we're already playing tennis there in the morning for
Yes, ma'am.
Waxahachie High School.
Waxahachie High School and junior high programs, junior high programs now are the ones meeting there, and they have coaching capability there. They're meeting at Solis and across the street.
So that's something that's already there. We could also look at some of the electives, like there is a teacher there who would be willing to take the test and get credentialed in fine arts. So if you have a teacher there who can teach a core subject in, say, theater, we have the flexibility, like if 20 kids sign up as opposed to 80 kids, we don't have to hire a teacher. We can so we're looking at teachers who have more than one certification. So that would be an area of interest. And also there could be a teacher who has a core subject but also is into vocal music. And we could have a choir or start a choir. So we're just looking at those kinds of options, but we'd like a little bit more direction from the board as to where the board would like for us to go with global, because it is an excellent high school. It's got great teachers and great kids, and we want it to thrive.
I'll start this discussion. First thing I'll say is I think global high school definitely fills a need in our district. And I think it's a gym it's a gym that not a whole lot of people know about. And if you look at the attendance, it's steadily declined over the last 3 years. And that was what was concerning to me, because I don't think enough people know about it and know what they're missing. And my personal opinion is our role as a board is to figure out why and what we can do to reverse that trend and get more children to want to go to global. I don't think it's our job to tell administration the programs we want. I think it's our job to support the programs that administration says needs to go there to grow global. That's just my opinion. Anybody else want to go?
I agree, and I think Melissa and I share this same sentiment, but from the feedback I've gotten from the parents is we can't rely on the 8th graders to go home and sell global. We got to get this marketed to the parents. And I don't know if we do it in-house, outsource it, however we do it. We have to get more aggressive with marketing global. And the second thing is, I think we're on the right track, and I think we offer things that our high school does not offer. In other words, volleyball, football, baseball, we stay away from that. We do something that's different, whether it be a different non-traditional type programs, something that would give those students an opportunity to branch out and do something different. In other words, I don't think we should water down what we currently do by splitting it into global.
Okay, so.
Any suggestions?
Mr. Autry, can I speak to the
Absolutely.
parents?
Go ahead, Ms. Blaylock.
I would like to add that Mr. Lynch, speaking to your marketing to the parents, that's something we've been talking a lot about too. During that week that they did the 8th grade tours, Mr. Lynch hosted a parent night. The weather did not help him. That's the night we had the torrential downpours of the Thursday night football game. But he did have, I think, a little bit more than 20 parents that attended, 20 families that attended that night. So in addition, as of Friday, any students on the survey that replied with an interest in the STEM Academy, in STEM careers, or in public services, or are undecided, all received letters, personalized letters that were mailed home to their families. So over the weekend, all of those 8th grade families that are any of those categories should have received some additional information, encouraging them to contact Global High to give them the chance to explain the dual credit opportunities there and what the benefits of that size school would be for them. So I appreciate Mr. Lynch going to that effort.
My thought on that is, do we start when they're in 6th grade or 7th grade and not 8th grade?
Yeah.
Because I think by the time they're in 8th grade, they already know what they want to do. They already have the ideas of what they want to participate in at the next level and whatnot.
Agreed.
It's just my thought. Go ahead, Ms. Starnader.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we just, is there some kind of, what's the deadline for the applications?
For the application process, it's the same as the transfer process, which
Okay,
finally
okay.
closes in July. Mr. Lynch, do you set an additional deadline for your?
We set it so that it had to be in April, but then our full.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Talking to a friend of mine in the business field the other day, just last weekend actually, said that it might actually improve our number. Set a cutoff date, brings up that urgency, go ahead and get it done. Their suggestion is even go out and let social media and so forth. Make it in January. Really be able to kind of get this out there. Otherwise, you're out looking or prospect.
I would love to see that. We need some kind of marketing blitz.
Yeah, and that's, what we can do is
I
we'll
don't
come
think
back at
anybody
the
knows
next
about it.
meeting and have, we may already be we'll already be doing it, because we don't want to wait, but we will have an explanation of the extra meetings and what we're doing.
Yes, and if you don't mind, I already have some ads scheduled for both online and print, just promoting Global. We are continuing to heavily promote Global in our newsletter, on social media, and it's also on the district website in a prominent place and on the Global website. So,
Jenny, can you speak to the community members that you've asked to promote it on digital signage?
oh yes, thank you. Our friends at Citizens National Bank are promoting it not only on their digital signs here in Waxahachie, but also in surrounding communities. And then we're promoting it on digital signs around the district as well. So we're continuing to work with Mr. Lynch, and if any members of the board or anyone else have any ideas for areas that we might need to tap into, we are all ears.
And we will extend that to 6th grade, 7th grade, and this would be a good time to do it since we're already advertising, and we'll come back with, but then with, I guess, offerings as well.
Right, I was going to ask about the offerings. When do we need to say we're going to be offering fine arts or choral or?
Well, if we have a dual certified teacher.
Right.
There's not that sense of urgent, we don't have to worry about hurry up and hiring someone. So we need to identify what can we offer with the staff there that's fine arts. It's the athletic offering which is a pull for a lot of kids, that the non-traditional, that would be unique. It helped me suggest a non-traditional.
Well,
Because I'm thinking ice skating, and I'm sure.
Well,
Good luck in August.
I'm not sure it wouldn't be a difference maker, I don't know, but just off the top of my head, something like wrestling. Something that, our high school doesn't currently have. And I don't want to, our director of athletics can speak. I'm
Right.
sure he's got other ideas, but that's just off the top of my head, something like that.
One thing that there's a request at every high school, and I hate to even say this, is gymnastics.
Right.
And it's not that kind of equipment. It's not like you don't have a field and a stands, but that gymnastics would be a big draw.
See, I'm thinking life skills, like cross-country and
Well, now that we have
tennis,
that-
of course. Those are life sports that kids could carry on forever. Yeah.
I've got a question,
Go ahead, Mr. Cutler.
either maybe for Ms. Blaylock and/or Mr. Lynch. I know we spoke a number of months back, Mr. Lynch, about the curriculum and the workload that those kids are under and the time that they spend just to get that associates. They're up there late. We've surveyed a bunch of 8th graders and got their feedback. Have we asked any of the kids who are currently under that workload if adding things like this would be viable, if they think it's doable? Because it'd probably be good to get their feedback since they're right in the middle of the process now.
Mr. Lynch, come up here so we can all hear you, please. Sorry to put you on the spot. You're getting an ovation.
Already didn't say anything.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that and brought up fine arts because currently that is probably, theater is probably the main thing that our students would really, really like. And I have an English teacher who teaches our dual credit English, who has done theater at the college level, and she could easily take the test. She's anxious actually to take the test and offer those classes. So like one act play is something that we could do, and it's in a short enough time period that students could get in there and do that without ruining their whole semester. You know, those are the kind of things that I think would really work. You know, the tennis is possibly something that we could do because we already have junior high coaches on our campus, and it would be a 0-hour program, which they could get into. But you know, the kids work really, really hard, and they stay really late. And then if they have a job on the side, it just eats up all their time. So certain sports, even band, is pretty demanding if you've got a marching band. So those kind of things could really cut into their time. And what I don't want to do is add something that's going to start causing kids to drop classes or lose credit. So, you know, there's more interest as a freshman and a sophomore than there is as a junior and senior, because once you're a junior or senior, you're backed into classes. Most of our juniors are taking 15 or 16 college hours. And, you know, if you were to college, that'd be your full load. But that's 5 classes. And when you're at Global, well, you've got 8 classes. So they've got 15 or 16 college hours and 3 high school classes that they've got to deal with. And so a lot of that starts trailing off at that point.
As we go through this process of expansion, I think one conversation Mr. Boshier, myself, Mr. Lynch, and Dr. Kane have had is we really need to think about our end expectation for students from Global High. Up until now, our expectation, I believe, as a community and as individuals attending Global is everyone should be expected to finish with an associate's degree. And as you diversify programming, there's a chance that some of those students may not do that. They may not be able to do that. That doesn't mean, though, they haven't had a successful career at Global High School or that they're not going to leave there and do something wonderful. So for those students, our goal will be for them to finish core complete, where they have a block of classes that they have finished school with and they are moving on to college or their next phase of life ready to go into a certification or to a 2-year or 4-year college plan. So as we move forward as a community, we will need to embrace the fact that not everybody may finish with an associate's degree because we're giving them some other alternatives.
And some parents and students, it's nothing against Waxahachie High School, they want their child in a smaller setting.
Right.
And so I think there's ways that we can talk about that and do a better job of promoting Global on a variety of
I just don't think it's our job, the 8 of us, to say, put this program there. It's our job to listen to what the kids want or the teachers want.
What we're looking for is boundaries.
And support those, whatever,
Once again,
whatever it is.
I don't know that it's so much what we're doing wrong at what we're offering. I think we're going to get the most bang for our buck in hitting the parents really hard with the marketing program. Let them know that it's there.
So what we have to do is decide more quickly, because if we dilly-dally deciding, we can't, it's going to be too late to sign up. So we've got to, settle on, tell the theater teacher, take the class. Take the test.
Take the test. And I've already told her to take the test. I planned on going ahead and offering that for next semester because that's easy to do and we've got personnel for it. And it's something we can start slowly into. It's just like with the Business Academy, we've had almost no interest. And I can't really justify at this point really going forward with that with 4 people who've shown interest. Now you could say, well, you don't have anybody out there pushing it like you could if you had a person on staff. But, I'd rather see some interest built during the junior high years that might draw that in before we go out and expend the money on it. Same way with athletics or theater arts or anything. Start with something that we can accommodate slowly and see how that goes. And if it goes great, then we can build on that. If it doesn't, then we know that we haven't ventured too much out there.
What about vocal music? Do you have a teacher who's certified or could get certified in vocal music?
I have some that sing, but I don't know if they actually would be able to do that. I don't know if they have their credentials or even close to being able to do that.
And if we found something, and we also have a high school, I mean, there can be half-day where someone could be at Waxahachie High School part of the day and part of Global. So if we found something that was the wow, there's other ways than trying to get your teachers dual certified.
Well, we did have a choir program years ago. We ran it for 2 years. And the first year we had a pretty good sign up, a number of kids who came out, who wanted to be in the choir. And then the second year we were just throwing kids into the class to make it make. And we were borrowing a choir director. So, that means that you get them one period, but you kind of have them for two because they've got to travel back and forth. And it didn't go anywhere after the second year. So, I like the fact that we've got somebody actually on staff for theater arts that we can do that one. If I find out we have somebody who can do choir, that'd be great. I'll poll them and find out tomorrow. I'm sorry?
How well do you sing?
I'm pretty horrible. I'm the only person I know that when I was in the kids choir at church, just a little toddler, the choir director said, maybe there's something else you'd like to do. So I'm not into that.
And there may be several programs that we try that fail before we find ones that work. But we've got to be willing to do that.
Mr. Rogers, I think it is like the wrestling or gymnastics or something that would be the draw.
I do want to say I agree with Mr. Rogers is that we need to advertise more. I was listening to the radio during the break, and I was listening to KRLD, and I heard advertising about different the early college high schools over on the far side of town. I noticed I was driving through Cedar Hill, and I saw a billboard on their collegiate school. I live in Midlothian, and DeSoto took an ad in the Midlothian Now, a full-page ad to support their college school, early college school, and that's DeSoto going into Midlothian. I'm thinking that's maybe a waste of money, but if there's if they think that there's a place there where people can be drawn out of that system, and that's what we used to do. We used to have 60% of our kids or more used to come from these surrounding districts.
Did we used to advertise, though? I mean, did we make a concerted effort?
We were the only ones around, and now everyone's followed our lead.
That's right. And a couple of years ago, the legislature said every high school had to offer some kind of 60-hour program. It doesn't mean everybody has to take it. Doesn't mean anybody has to take it, but it had to be there somewhere. So now we're basically competing with everyone, but everybody's program is not like ours. If you go to WHS and you want to be in the college program, you took algebra as an 8th grader. You were in all the pre-AP classes. When you come to Global, you're anybody. We have more than our share of gifted and talented kids by far, probably twice the population of most of the other schools on a percentage basis. But the majority of our kids who walk across that stage every year to get their associate's degree are just regular kids. A lot of them didn't make good grades, even in junior high. But they come to us, they get in the culture, they develop what they need, that work ethic, and they graduate with an associate's degree. So we're not like all these other programs. But a lot of people don't get to hear about it because they just, they don't know anything about us. We're still the best kept secret in Ellis County. So.
Mr. President, let us come back with a plan, but it will probably be a plan already in process, so we won't be wasting time. But I would be happy to hear from any board members who have an epiphany tonight or any other night or day. But we need to increase our media efforts and budget because we also can't, those things are effective. Billboards, I've used them before. And so we've probably not put our money behind, here's what the efforts we want to have, but we're on it.
Okay. Item D, PBMAS, Performance-Based Monitoring and Analysis System. I think that's you, Ms. Blaylock.
Actually, it's Ms. Blaylock and Company.
I see that now.
Yes, thank you. I have an entourage tonight. Thank you, Board. We apologize that this presentation was delayed 1 month with my illness. Last month, I vowed to attempt to never miss a board meeting again, and I appreciate my team working toward performance-based monitoring system. The PBMAS report comes out annually. This report is derived by the state. It is based out of the data that we provide to them through Snapshot and throughout the year. The monitoring system is put into place to help us analyze not only our programs, but also our performance and how they all fit together. So you'll notice on the slide that it covers 4 areas: bilingual education and English as a second language, career and technical education, the Every Student Succeeds Act, and special education, and how all of them intersect. And much of this, you'll see, this is the summary, one of the summary reports that we are provided at the end of it, where it looks at our STAR scores for 3 through 8, our STAR EOC passing rates, how our STAR alternate 2 passing rates, annual dropout, graduation, course completion, special education, and then state performance plans are covered, are covered across bilingual ESL, CTE, the ESSA, and our SPED population. And so in the end, we're expected to take all of this data and analyze, when it all intersects, what we are doing well and where we are finding deficiencies in our program. In addition, the state gives you a targeted performance level and says that across the state, if you receive a performance level of 0, then your data is within the expected range. This range changes yearly based on the submission of all the schools across the state. But if you have a performance level of a 1 through 4, with 1 being the least restrictive and 4 being the most errors within your data, you are expected to make a plan and put a plan in place to improve that. As you can see at the bottom, staging of a 3 or higher in these areas requires submission of a corrective action plan to TEA. I'm proud to tell you that we will not be reporting to you on that tonight. Secondly, a staging of a 1 or 2 requires internal goals for improvement, but we keep that system here, that plan here within the district, and we are expected to make improvement on it. Since I have been in this role, not anything to do with me personally, but our PBMS staging continues to come down as we continue to put stronger supports in place. And I very much feel like with the initiatives that you'll hear about tonight and what we're working on as a district, we can only expect our staging to continue to be reduced. So tonight, we're going to take you through each of the staged programs. Although some of the reports, they may have multiple areas, I've asked them to focus on those that are near the stage 3 level. The report you have, though, has all of those. So if for any reason you need further explanation, please don't hesitate to ask them to give you that. So I'm going to start with Ms. Fiona Armstrong, our bilingual and ESL coordinator.
All right, good evening. Okay, so just to talk a little bit about bilingual education, and we do have the dual language enrichment model that goes up through 5th grade. And then we have ESL that's pre-K all the way through 12. And so our staging applies to 3rd through 8th grade STAR. Some of our strengths, dual language STAR, 3rd through 5th grade math, 86.7%. And most of our students take the math exam, the math STAR test in English. So they do really well there. Reading, 81.4%, and then science was 86.4%. So our dual language students are really rock and roll, and they're doing great. ESL STAR, 3rd through 8th grade. Math, 72.8%. Reading, 65.3%, which was an improvement over last year. And one thing that we're really proud of is we're making good decisions when we're exiting our students. So that means they have met exit criteria, and they're doing well once they exit. So that's something we're really proud of, is the LEP is limited English proficient, so the year after exit. STAR, 3rd through 8th grade math, 94%, reading 91.7%, science 88.9%, and writing 89.5%. And then LEP, limited English proficient, STAR EOC, social studies is 82.6%. So those are some, what happened? Okay, there we go. some great things that are happening. Our dual language students are currently up through, they're in 6th grade this year. Some of the students, just so that you know, some of the students that did not exit was because they took their STAR last year in Spanish. So we expect that this year they'll do well, and we anticipate that they'll do well, and we'll have some more exits this year. Okay. All right, so as far as staging goes, I'm going to hit on, I went ahead and broke this down into dual language. They're kind of lumped, bilingual ESL 3 through 8, but I wanted you to see the breakdown of our dual language and our ESL students as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about the ESL STAR 3 through 8, which is where we had a performance level of 3. We know that social studies is a concern across the district, and so we will be looking at a vertical alignment within the social studies framework to be developed. Another thing that we're really excited about is that Tina Bean, who is renowned with silence education, she's a guru for English learners across the state. We're hoping to bring her in February. As long as we have enough people enroll in this PD, then we will be able to send 20 WISD educators for free. And so we're really hoping that that will make, and so that's going to be a great professional development, and it's particular to English language learners in social studies. Sheltered instruction it was something that we continue to offer. We offered it at Camp iNation. I go to the campuses and provide professional development as well. And so that will be ongoing. We'll have the spring wave of PD that'll be going on here pretty soon. We'll start that. And then ESL STAR 3 through 8 passing rate, again, with writing. This is an area of focus. One thing that I want you to know is dual language has a strong component of writing that is built into the model. And so that's something that we anticipate will continue to increase. But as far as our action plan, the literacy framework's being monitored. We were really excited. Again, Silence Education, I brought them in December. We had 85 people from across the state and even as far as Colorado that came to Waxahachie to attend this training, and 20 of our teachers got to go to that for free. So there was a strong emphasis on writing, on working with our newcomers, and things like that. So we were really excited to host that. So writing is something that we will continue to address. And then again, sheltered instruction for all content teachers 6th through 12th grade is something that's ongoing as well. Okay. So, and then as far as parent denials, these are the students that for some reason the parents have denied bilingual and ESL services. And so that's something that we do monitor closely. I feel like we've worked really hard to keep a track of those students to make sure that they're, as soon as they meet exit criteria, we exit them from that status. So, and we also have conferences with parents. Sometimes I see it all the time. A lot of times we will have students that have come to us from another district. They already had that parent denial in place. So that is something that we're addressing. With the LEP annual dropout rate, Mrs. Robinson is going to talk about the leaver code because I know that that's something that they're working through right now. Okay. Any questions about bilingual ESL?
I guess
Okay.
not.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Viana, what is the denial? Explain that a little bit more.
Parent denials, what that means when a student qualifies as limited English proficient, the first thing that we do, if Spanish is anywhere in the home language survey, and they are in pre-K through 5th grade, the first program that we offer is bilingual education. Sometimes, for whatever reason, parents might deny that program, and we always have a conference with them. I talk to them personally, the principals or the teachers. Somebody has a conference with a parent if it's the initial phase. They have just arrived in the country. Let's say they're a 3rd grader. They just came to the United States. We offer bilingual education. If they deny the program, then we talk to the parents to make sure that they understand the benefits and what happens with biliteracy. We always build their first language really strongly to add to their second because there's a transference that occurs. So we talk to them first, but sometimes parents will say, they're here, I want them to learn English. And so they deny services. So if that happens, then we offer ESL because we want them to have some kind of linguistic support. And if even at that, I had a conference not very long ago with a parent that even after going through everything that I could share with them about biliteracy, they denied bilingual, denied ESL, and we even explained to them, your child will receive no linguistic support or no linguistic accommodations on STAR. And even at that, sometimes they will deny. So as a parent, they have a right to do that. So, but we require them to not only deny the permission slip, but they also have to provide us with a letter because it's on the parent. So, but then the teachers are still providing the ELPs. They still make sure to embed the English language proficiency standards because those students are still assessed with CHLPAS. So,
Great, thanks.
okay, you're welcome.
Good evening. Good to see you all. I'm going to talk a little bit about special education. As always being special education and under PBMAS has more indicators than any other area that we get to look at and analyze. There are 16 indicators this year under special education. 4 of those indicators this year we got to celebrate as strengths. And so I've listed those here for you. 3 areas we got the coveted RI, which means required improvement was met. So we improved to such a level that the state said, you get bonus points here. So we're going to count that as even if you didn't meet the performance level to get a 0, because you made such great improvements, we're going to treat it like a 0. So the 3 areas listed there that happened in was our science, improved from 45.4 to 63.6 passing rate. Our students in grade 3 through 9 who were tested on STAR Alt 2, actually this is our percentage of participants actually went down, but that's good. In this case, you want to meet the state rate as 10%. So we're closer to the state rate, so that's why we got our required improvement met. And then our percent of students ages 6 to 21 that are served in the regular classroom, not in a special ed setting, but in the gen ed setting, 80% or more of their day. We've increased that percentage from 67.4 to 69.1%. And then another area that I wanted to highlight was our social studies EOC, because we didn't get the RI, but we did improve from a 2 to a 1. And that was a good improvement from 56.3 to 61.2 on the EOC. So we had several areas with 2s, mostly those are in our 3 through 8 academic achievement areas. You can see reading and science, we're at a 2. Social studies, we got a 4. Again, reflecting, like Deanna mentioned, the district was very low for the social studies passing rate, and therefore our special education students' performance stands out, even more in that area. And so what we're doing, and then writing, we're at a 3. So where the district is lower, special education is definitely suffering. So what we're doing action plan wise is partnering with the general education groups, CNI, to make sure that those resources and instructional practices that we're bringing into the gen ed classroom, that our special education staff are aware of it, and also promoting that so our students improve along with the rest of the students that they're receiving the instruction with. Also this year, we have continuously been providing our committee members decision-making guidance when they're sitting in meetings, making decisions about students in special education, making sure they have the appropriate accommodations and the appropriate support in their classes so that they can make academic progress. That's some guidance we've been doing this year as well. And just continuing on, again, we have 2s in EOC, math, and English passing rates, so working towards same thing, that partnership with gen ed and making sure those resources and instructional practices are aligned. The SPED annual dropout rate is 2, and our upcoming PEMS audit is going to look at making sure that we are coding those correctly and that we don't have any mistakes there, and going back and looking at our data so that we can look at those lever codes. And then finally, under the early childhood program rate, like I mentioned, one of our strengths was that we increased the number of students 6 through 21. We have more of those students receiving their 80% of their instruction in gen ed. This particular indicator has to do with our children ages 3 to 5 that are in our pre-K programs and kindergarten. And we are continuing to increase those students' access also to more general education settings. One of those areas being growing our pre-K blended classes, where we have a dually certified teacher, but certified in both gen ed and special ed, and they teach a blended classroom where the student gets credit for being in a gen ed setting. So, any questions for me?
Questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Boshier?
Thank you, Board, for having us. Dr. Kane, I'm told I have a lovely singing voice in case the choir gets kicked off at Global.
We found your choir teacher.
Mr. Fox has heard me sing Fraulein many times.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you. It's great to have the opportunity always to speak in front of the board. I feel very honored. In career and technical education, as far as our PBMAS, we really only a student can be a 0, they're not in a career tech class. They can be a 1, which means they're in a random career tech course, or they can be, what we want them to be are career tech indicator 2s, which means they are, at least they say they're going to be, or they are already in a coherent sequence of 2 or more courses for 3 or more credits in career and technical education. The strengths in our career tech, as you can see, the graduation rate for CTE students is 13 points above the cut point. For the general population, CTE star, EOC passing rates for students with 2, they exceed the cut points in all disciplines, math, science, social studies, and English. And one of the things, we made the staging list, but a good thing about that is that it shows that CTE is not generating barriers that keep special ed students and ELL students out of CTE classes. As you can see, the CTE indicators, since all this is really just a code that tells what our SPED or ELL students are doing district-wide, or then you would expect these performance levels to be just as they are. And of course, we're going to partner with SPED and ELL and general ed teachers to ensure that we're doing what we can to motivate students and to cross-train on those issues. And then the ELL is exactly the same. This is what you would expect. If the district ELL performance levels are at 3s and 2s, then you would expect that when you pull out that small sample size of career tech 2s would be 3s and 2s as well.
Any questions for Mr. Boshier? I'll tell you, I have a SPED student in my household, and I forced him to take CTE as a freshman. Now he loves it, and he's taking 2 of them.
Very good.
It's working.
Before I move to questions, quickly just want to inform the public and the board that the PBMAS report, as well as this presentation, are available in public board book and also at TEA's website. Our challenge now is to determine of these students, what's in common is that they all require some type of learning accommodation for them to be successful in the classroom. And so just as Ms. Armstrong and Ms. Thomas both mentioned that their students require specialized instruction, in order for these measures to change, you have to ensure that they're getting everything they need in the classroom to be successful. And so that is what we're working on currently. In addition, as you heard them mention, Ms. Robinson and the PMS team have been working very hard on finding our levers. And I'd like to take about just a minute and a half or 2 minutes for her to update you on the process, sure, because that very much influences not only our PBMAS report, but also the TAPER report that I'll be sharing with you in just a second. So she's going to just give us an update on the levers that we have found in the process we've been through right now.
Good evening, board. During the month of November and December, WISD hired a respected former teacher to try and locate 61. We had 61 that had a leaver code. That means they're 98. They're counted as dropouts towards our district. We were able to recover a total of 15 as of today. We worked through some more of these. 15 of these, 63, because 2 more wound up on there today. So for 17-18 school year, we will report 48 dropouts, 48 leaver codes. Now, there's 17 different leaver codes, but 3 of those are indicators that means they dropped out. We can't locate them. Some of those, they've gone on to get their GED. Some have moved out of the country. Those don't count against us. These 48 are ones that we tried to locate them through means of Facebook, contact information, but we were unsuccessful. And that report is due on Thursday to TEA. So.
And also from Ms. Jenkins, we found out from some of the kids that she found, she also talked to some parents. And we have some students who have kind of come to their senses. You know, at one time, dropping out seemed like a good idea. But after they've been in the cold, cruel world for a little while, they've realized that, you know, maybe they need that high school diploma. So Mr. Morgan and Mr. Casas is working with the high school of choice to make certain that we're maximizing every space and getting all the kids there. Because if we have a child who says, I've changed my mind, and I'm ready to get a high school diploma, we want to strike while the iron is hot. I actually visited that campus. It's very impressive. Dr. Benskin there is law and order. If you have any idea that the high school of choice is not well-run and well-behaved, and all the students are just so respectful. So we've got some great teachers. We've got a lot of things going. So we will be taking advantage of some of our kids who are want to come back, but also Mr. Casas is keeping an eye out on some kids who we don't necessarily need to wait till you drop out if there's issues, if you're having a hard time dealing with larger classes, or you've got too many friends with bad ideas that you really don't want to deal with them on, or just for whatever reason. Our goal is you got to have a high school diploma. So we're going to be making a few changes at high school of choice that will be for the better. I will even be speaking with you about possibly adding a class which would be at night, because we've got the computers are there, the curriculum's there, the building's there. It's actually a nice building to use at night the way it's structured, because we want to give as many opportunities. And we've got a lot of our students who would like to come back, but they work. And so if you work all day, you need to go to school at night. We also have some of our dropouts who have their own family, and they have to wait till maybe a parent gets home to take care of the child so they could come up there. So we're looking at making some changes so we can embrace more of our dropouts and make them graduates.
Thank you very much.
And no leavers no more, and we will be, these double-digit leaver numbers, we're actually, one thing with PBMA, you're dealing with a year's behind. And so so we're working now to make certain that next year, we're not having this discussion. So
I was debating on whether I should say this publicly, but most of you know I'm going to say pretty much what's on my mind anyway. I have the uncanny ability of finding people that don't want to be found. So if you would like that assistance, give me 3 or 4 of them, and I bet I can find them.
We may take you up on that. Give me a list.
Yes.
A lot of times,
That's just
sir,
the truth.
we just need a warm trail. I mean,
Hey.
really.
You'd be amazed at what I could find for you.
So let that be a
coming to
lesson.
school is more
Don't
fun
be
than coming
hiding.
to court, so I think you have success.
I'll let you guys make the contact. I'll just give you the information. So, thank you very much. It's the truth.
No, it's true. It is true.
Anybody have any questions for Ms. Blaylock? Okay.
Good job, Ms. Blaylock.
Thank you very
I'll
much.
let her
Thank
easily
you to
share
the team.
tables. Let me, Miss Bridges.
I didn't know how to work it. Okay, I'll stay right here by you. Okay.
Good evening, board and administrators. Tonight I'd like to give an update on a district concern, and it concerns the disposal of uneaten, unopened, commercially prepackaged menu items at the schools. Historically, our city health department has not allowed the redistribution of these items. Recently, the Texas Food Establishment rules were adopted by the city. This now allows us the opportunity to establish what we refer to as share tables. So a share table is a table or a vessel where students can place their unwanted or unopened, non-potentially hazard foods and beverages immediately upon exiting the cashier or point of sale. The share tables are in place to reduce food waste and to make perfectly good edible food items available to all students at no charge. This provides the hungry students the option to have available extra portions if they wish. I'm sorry. So what can be placed on these share tables? Any item that is prepackaged, unopened, or has a peel: milk, juice, fruit cups, yogurts, muffins, whole fruits. Now, with the share tables do come some compliance rules that we must follow. So we'll need to implement a policy for our district. We'll need some guidelines. We need to make sure that all the packages or items that are placed inside what we are purchasing or coolers are they haven't been tampered with in any way. So we think by exiting the point of sale, putting it right in there, the student already knows probably they're not going to drink the milk or eat the fruit. If we can catch them right there, I think it'll benefit us all. If the student takes the product to the table, decides they don't want it, it will not be allowed on the share table. So anyway, does anyone have any questions for me?
May I say something, President
Absolutely.
Autry? Cam has just embraced this. The first opportunity she has such a heart for our kids, and she wants to make certain that every bit of food, that there's not a hungry child. Yes. And this has not been allowed, but once it was allowed, she ordered refrigerators, the little baby refrigerators and plugs, and she has gone after this whole hog, and I just want you to know I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. We're waiting for the refrigerators to come in. We ordered 15, one for each campus except the high school. So junior highs and elementaries and Turner Pre-K will all have one. But the thing about Turner Pre-K is they straight serve. They get one of everything. They don't have a choice. So we'll have to talk to them more, you know, and they may just stare at us, but we'll, you know, we're going to do our best there. So anyway, we're hoping that they will be here within the next 2 to 3 weeks, and that's when we'll start our program, when we have our refrigerators.
And that's something else we can get some publicity on. I mean, if we could get some articles, and if Jenny could advertise that, it would help our parents to talk about it too.
This was my attempt at a makeshift. Me and my supervisors, we found one in the warehouse and set it up and kind of made a makeshift sign for it. And we can call them anything we want, but initially, this is what they're going to look like. So. Anyway, that's it at this time. Thank you so much.
Kim, I know this is something that's near and dear to your heart. Do you have a comment you want to make, question?
Yes, I just want to thank you for
yes, ma'am.
For being sure our kids are fed. That's the main thing.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know.
anytime. Yeah, they tug at your heartstrings.
Yes.
You know, they do.
What's the history?
For reading the article I gave to you.
I'm sorry?
For reading the article that I sent over.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's a good idea.
It is. It
Thank
really
you
is.
for
Thank you. I'm glad the
implementing it.
city changed their mind.
I
And
was going to say, the city had to change their code, their city ordinance
Yes, they
first,
did.
And they did
Yes.
that just last Monday?
no, I'm not sure when they did it. I inquired about it 2 years ago.
Okay.
The person who was in charge, the health inspector at the time, told me that it was not possible because of germs.
Well, they just revamped a whole bunch of codes
Yes,
last Monday.
yes,
And I
sir.
was wondering if between then and now, you've already got this ball rolling. That was impressive.
I received my answer in December.
Okay.
Right before we left for break. And so at that time is when I was informed that they had changed to the Texas Restaurant Establishment Code. So, and I did read it. It's a nice 200-page read if anyone's interested. But it allows us to share food, not worry about the implementations of germs. You know, if we do it quickly and right after the point of sale, then we don't really have to worry about it. So, yeah, you're welcome.
Any other questions for Ms. Bridgers? Okay, it's listed as an action item. Normally I don't do this, but Kim, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to allow you to make the motion to.
Mr. Autry, I would like to make the motion that we approve the implementation of share stations at all of our elementary and junior highs.
I have a motion by Ms. Kriegel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McCutcheon. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Okay. Item F, global data points. Is that you, Ms. Blaylock, again?
Go.
Oh, maybe not.
Miss Mott's going to keep consistency.
It was listed as Ms. Blaylock, so.
You're stuck
That's
with
her
me.
mama.
Good evening, board. I am back with you this evening, hold on, to talk about checkpoints for our district common assessments. We have 2 different checkpoints for you to look at tonight. One of them is for elementary math. 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students have taken 2 DCAs so far this year. And so you see there a summary of those performances by grade level. And I hit something wrong again, Mr. Robinson. And so you see their performances by grade level. We also have some of those outstanding performances noted once again in this document. Some of the concerns that I had from the elementary math is that we had a 35 percentage point spread between our top performing and our lowest performing campus on the 4th grade 2nd DCA, and that's very concerning to have that big of a discrepancy between our campuses. We are addressing that. Ms. Johnson, Ms. Stacy Johnson is the elementary math coordinator, and she is really working with the lowest performing campuses on small group instruction, making sure we have that in place. That is one of our best tools that we have for intervention and just for the entire class. Small group instruction is a fabulous tool. Also, we are doing some professional development with principals this month, elementary principals at their tribe meeting on January 22nd. Ms. Johnson will be doing PD for about our math resources and what the components of high quality math instruction are. So we are addressing the concerns off of this document with Ms. Johnson. I am requiring all coordinators to make 5 classroom observations a week, reporting to myself, the principal, and back to the teacher. Those are data-driven decisions as to which campuses and which classrooms we are visiting. So, of course, any of those low-performing teachers, we are in their classrooms. The plan, we went through our plan this morning for the week, and they are going to be in there, and they'll be providing that feedback and coaching those teachers. And our goal is to take those teachers that are performing at the bottom of that list and moving them up so our students are more successful. And then if you transition and look at the 5th grade science checkpoint that I've provided to you, we've also completed 2 DCAs for 5th grade science. We've had some outstanding performances of 90% or higher in many of our classrooms across the district. Miss Melissa Abity is our science coordinator, and she attributes those strong performances to some great training that we've done with our teachers and our principals for STEM scopes, which is a very valuable resource that we have here in Waxahachie. She's had success with our 5th grade science teachers using small group instruction, interactive word walls, and we've also implemented that all students, all classes participate in the science fair, a little bit different format than in the past. Used to be individual participation. Now we have a whole group class participation, so all kids are going through that scientific process. All kids are learning about it together as a class. We make sure that all students are getting that information. And so we think that is attributing to the success. Our action plan, of course, we will be visiting those low-performing classrooms and doing some coaching and working with principals and teachers to get those brought up. And Ms. Abity is also utilizing videotaping our higher-performing teachers and using that for professional development purposes on those lower campuses. I tried to run through those real quick. I know you've seen those checkpoints before for our district common assessments. I can entertain any questions that you might have for elementary math or 5th grade science.
Questions or comments for Mrs. Mott?
I just make comments. Sure, helpful to have these checkpoints.
Great.
Instead of finding out in July where we're at. I'm glad that Dr. Spees led us in this.
Thank you, Dr. Langley. I think it's been a really good experience for the coordinators as well. It really keeps us in touch with what's going on. You know, I don't ever doubt them wandering away from it, but it keeps it real focused.
Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you, board.
Okay, business office, comparative analysis of district bond indebtedness.
Sounds
Would that be
exciting.
Mr. McCalden?
People call and ask if they can
What
come visit.
everybody came for.
Keep us on the edge of our seats.
Board, thank you for the opportunity to come and talk about this. I did send out a comparison chart I guess that was probably back in December before we left for the Christmas break. So a couple of things, just wanted to highlight on it. If you look at our comparative districts around us, so that would be Midlothian and Red Oak, you will see that we really fall right in line between Midlothian and Red Oak on just about every indice that is listed on this debt chart. So our tax rate's right there with everybody else. Our outstanding debt is a whole lot more in line than what I would point out Midlothian, not necessarily to pick on them, but our student enrollment is really fairly similar, but their total outstanding principal is considerably higher than ours as a district. So the only reason that really becomes important is when you're looking at freeze adjusted taxable values and you try to back into what's the maximum amount you can support with your debt rate, when you start looking at that number, Midlothian is actually very, very limited, if not capped out on debt that they can issue at this point. So if you go in and do their calculations on what revenue can be supported with that tax rate on the INS side and what they currently have outstanding in terms of debt payments, their capacity is very, very limited. I would tell you it's not on this sheet, but I did the layman math earlier today. I would tell you we actually have the most capacity amongst the 3 districts listed on this comparison. I will tell you though, from a operations perspective, I'm a little bit envious of Red Oak because they have a 25-year maturity on their bonds. Ours is 30, which is what you would expect because we just issued some more bonds. And Midlothian has 35 years until their final maturity at this point. So what it tells me is that we are in really good shape. We're still able to issue 30-year maturity bonds, which are really good for a district. We're not looking into 35 and 40-year maturities, which all that does is going to increase that interest cost for the taxpayer. So we're still in the 30-year range. I believe we still have plenty of capacity to stay in the 30-year maturity range. And depending on even if we were to look into some really small issues, we could even look at that 20-year maturity or even 25-year maturity, depending on the size of that issue. So I hope this answers the questions that you may have as a board. If not, please let me know. I'll be happy to try to answer those for you.
Go ahead.
Obviously, this is a hot topic with me and a lot of the citizens when I was campaigning. And the longer I sit up here, the more I believe a lot of it's education and learning why our numbers are the way they are.
Yes, sir.
And we are in good position and we appreciate, or I think the citizens appreciate us being obviously good stewards of the money, but also the transparency in explaining these numbers, and I think it's calmed down a lot. And I think it's because we've taken the time to explain where our numbers are and how we got there. But I'm just curious if we ever see the pendulum swing into where we can maybe not decrease our taxes, but keep it our effective tax rate. In other words, Frisco, and I'm not saying I want to be a Frisco or we are a Frisco, but there's not a school district growing any faster, I don't think, than Frisco. And they're at $1.44, we're at $1.55. And I don't know why. Is it because their tax base is so much better?
Honestly, without looking at their tax base, my initial guess would be that their tax base has more industry as a percent component of their tax base than ours does. Not necessarily good or bad. You could always have issues on that angle as well. But that's just going to be my initial assessment, because with homes, you get the homestead exemption, you get some other things that while you may have assessed value, you have taxable value that's a different number. Well, those things don't exist for commercial and industrial. So those sorts of entities really do help in terms of if you're all homeowners, then that freeze amount is going to hit you a little bit harder than if you've got the industry and the commercial base to support it. There's also a double edge to that sword though too. If you have a lot of industry without students, then you'll be subject to the 41 recapture.
Right.
So,
which I'm sure they are.
Yes, absolutely. So really, without looking into theirs, I would tell you that I think we're at a pretty good mix right now. We're in a good spot. We are getting into the 41. We are getting subject to some recapture. But we also know that our district enrollment just keeps growing and growing and growing. So we're doing everything we can to try to minimize the recapture. There's not a whole lot that we can do about it, but we're doing everything that we can to try to minimize that. But I do think from a debt perspective, we really are in pretty good shape, especially compared to our peers, whether they be just Ellis County or other growing districts around us.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Questions, comments? Okay, thank you very much, Mr.
Thanks, sir.
Coleman. Okay, item number 5 on our agenda. This time, we're going to open a public hearing for the presentation of the 2017-2018 Texas Academic Performance Report. Ms. Blaylock, you're first.
Thank you, Board, and thank you, Mr. Autry, for opening our public hearing tonight. For this process, we will go through the process of presenting the official report on the Texas Academic Performance Report that was published by the state on December the 17th. For compliance, we are expected to present this to the public within 90 days of the receipt of that. We are far ahead of that and ahead of most districts in getting this out quickly. In addition, each campus will have the responsibility of providing their taper information to their stakeholders on their campus, which the appropriate group is their campus advisory team. So the campuses will be doing that. For the public, this information is in our public board book. So if you go to our website under Board of Trustees and you access public board book, there is an extensive presentation. Tonight, I'm going through a condensed version of this, hitting on the highlights, but all of this information is present in our board book, as well as the full taper report. So this year, the state has updated the process for this. It always comes out, this report always comes out in December. This year was a little delayed. Sometimes we're fortunate to get it in November. And they have made this an interactive process. Previously, all we've ever received is a PDF, which is currently live on the Texas Education website and in our board book, but they now also have downloadable interactive Excel spreadsheets so that you can manipulate the data and do something more with it than what we can see typically in a PDF. So all of this is available to the public. These are critical items that we must report. That number one, we are accredited, and our accountability rating, as we have discussed many times, is a B. We are working hard to move that to an A. Our special education determination status meets requirements, and our Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test also meets requirements. We are conducting our public hearing in a timely fashion. Our first rating for 2017 was an A and superior, and there's a link, an active link that is hyperactive in this presentation to our PEIMS First Standard Report. Our campus performance objectives are those that we've been talking about since the beginning of the year. As you know, board, and public, we have updated our academic goals in our district, and so at this time, every campus has their campus improvement plan live and actively being updated on their campus websites under required postings. All of their performance objectives are based on their STAR data. They are in the process of updating those toward those performance objectives put in place by the school board. So campus performance objectives are a mandate to be shared during the taper report. So in looking at our performance as a district, board, you received some very flat graphs, but I have been able to update those to something that gives you all of the information. An upgrade the state made in our taper report this year is they are providing us data in the approaches, meets, and master's levels. Previously, we received information in the approaches area, which is the minimum standard to say that you have done what the state expected you to do on their state assessment. But our goal, of course, is to move our students to the meets area and then to the master's area. So board, the initial graph that I gave you is only the approaches, which is the back row of the green. So as you can see here on the back row in approaches, we were above the state by 2 percentage points and 1 percentage point above the Region 10 Education Service Center area. In meets, we are 2 points above the state and 1 point below the region. That would be the orange columns that you see in the center. And then our end point, where we want every student to eventually achieve, is for them to all reach masters, which means that they have mastered the content at the highest level possible and they are college and career ready. And so you can see there that we are 1 point below the state. That is an area that we are aggressively pushing, especially with all the conversation we've had about advanced academics this year. I am pleased that we are above the state in approaches and meets, but as you know, I'm not satisfied with just those items. I will tell you that in the approaches areas, Waxahachie ISD was above the state in 4 English language arts. We had a approaches percentage of 78. In math, we had an approaches of 83. In writing, 70, and in science, 82. In social studies, the state was a 78, the district was a 75, and you know that we are aggressively working on those social studies scores so that next year I will report to you that we are above in every single area, and I expect to see meets and masters growing as we move forward. The next critical component that we're looking at is our annual dropout rate. As you can see, the state masked much of the small populations. So as you look at the live reports online, you will notice here that there are several populations that do not have a color bar. Those student populations were smaller than what the state considered a safe reporting group because they never want to identify a student. So as you can see in this area, our state is at 1.9% dropout rate in blue. Our region was at 2.0 in orange, and our district was at 2.4. So our district is a 0.5 percentage point over the state. This is not one of those areas that you want to be over the state. Of course, we want to continue to lower that. I do know that we are aggressively, as Dr. Kane mentioned and Ms. Robinson mentioned, looking at alternatives so that this rate will not continue to increase. And we believe, I firmly believe, that with our aggressive nature towards seeking our levers and conversations about how we can even improve that beyond what we've done now, that this percentage point will be below the state. That's definitely where we want it. And this has not always been the case in Waxahachie. And so this is an area that we definitely want to get under control. Our 4-year longitudinal graduation rate, as you can see in this bar graph, the blue coloring represents graduates. The orange coloring represents continuers, meaning that they are continuing their high school education beyond a 4-year. Once you start with the group and as your cohort, they continue to be, that's the group that you belong to so that they can measure. The state measures 4th, 5th, and 6-year graduates. And the teal color, those are the students that are graduating a percentage of GED, and the gray is a dropout rate. So for Waxahachie ISD, the district graduated 90.3% of our graduates, and the state graduated 89.7%. This is for students in the class of 2017. For our district, out of our looking at our subpopulations of our white students, that's 92.4%. Our African American students was 89.7%, and our Hispanic students is 86.6%. And so as we look at the state, you can tell that we are excelling beyond them, but as we've discussed in our accountability information, this graduation rate is critical in in a multitude of ways, but it's also one that if you don't have an extremely high graduation rate, it's harmful to your accountability system. And more importantly, it's what's best for kids. So we are definitely being assertive and looking at all the opportunities we have for students to graduate, and we appreciate the board's support in helping us work to accomplish that. For our 5-year graduates, the district graduated 90.9%. That would be students from the class of 2016. Any questions on that, board? Good? Okay. This indicator I pulled because we have had much conversation about college, career, and military-ready graduates. As you can see in parentheses, that is part of our student achievement indicator. This is looking at annual graduates meeting at least 1 out of the 8 criteria. The state has given us 8 different indicators that we can receive credit for. We want students to be able to check at least one of those boxes. And so as you can see here, the district had a total of 56.6% of our students that met at least one of those criteria. We don't get any extra points if they meet more than them, but what we want to ensure is that every single student can meet at least one. The state graduated 54.2%. So we are just a hair than 2% above the state, and our region had 53.7% of our students that graduated college, career, and military ready. Some interesting data here is that our 2 or more races subpop graduated at 70.6% college, career, and military ready. Our white population, 66.1%. Hispanic population, 45.2%, and our African American population, 38.6%. And most definitely, the remedy to this is to truly study each individual child. In order for us to guarantee that every student is one of these items, we have to know where they are when they start school, and we have to be aggressively tracking them as we move forward, and that is our current initiative. Our counselors have already done the very first initial transcript check this year. They are now in the process of looking at where are they receiving their college, career, military ready status, as well as are they on track, as Mr. Boshier mentioned, with coherent sequence of courses. So this is one that we will continue to monitor. We are required to report in our annual report on violent and criminal incidents at a total of 17 different mandatory expellable incidents is what we are required to look into. Those range from everything such as used, exhibited, or possessed a firearm, illegal knife, club, or weapon, all the way to aggravated kidnapping and other things. It is all listed in the report greatly. We do not have to report any of those. We did not have any this year in our school district. Oh, and here's some of them. Sorry about that. Lastly, we are looking at an information from the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. We are required to report from all 3 of our high schools in total. They continue to track our students for us. This is something that's interesting to us because we want to know not only are we graduating you, but what are you doing once you leave? So we have several, in the report I've given you all 3 high schools, but I wanted to take that and compile it for you. So of the students that graduated in the class of 2017, that's 538 total trackable graduates in our district. 58 of those are in a 4-year public university. 182 total graduates of WISD are in a 2-year public college. 41 are in an independent college and university. 9 were not trackable, and unfortunately 213 of those students were not able to be found. So we very much believe that these numbers are higher, but traditionally that is on the Higher Education Coordinating Board to track those students, and we are going to ensure that through our system, we've done everything we can to provide them the data that they need, but that 213 not being able to be found is disturbing because we want to know what path they've taken and whether they have or have not reported that in.
We're on the different places.
Yeah, those numbers you gave are not.
Yes, sorry. Sorry. Let me switch over to a different one. That's Waxahachie High School only. So let me uncover this one so you can see. Jeff, can you make this work? Okay, so this one right here is, this one is Global High School. So the first one, this is Waxahachie High School, sorry. I consolidated all of it into total numbers. I'm very, very sorry. So this is Waxahachie High School. So in total, they had 419 graduates. There we go. You can see theirs. They had 57 for a 4-year public, 159 for a 2-year, 22 independent colleges, 8 not trackable, and 173 not found.
Global High. What's the difference in not trackable and not found?
Dr. Kane, I am not sure, but I will find out.
I mean, how can you be, if you're not found, to me, you're not trackable.
how those, and I apologize, I do not know the answer to that.
Is that Dusty proof, non-trackable?
Yes.
That could be a challenge.
We're going to enlist his support.
Challenge accepted.
Yes, that's fabulous. As you can see, at Global High School, there were 50 of their students are in a 4-year public school, 19 are in a 2-year school, 4 are independent college, 0 are not trackable, 17 are not found, for the total of 90 graduates. And then the last one, the numbers that I gave you were for Waxahachie High School, High School of Choice. So high school of choice has a much smaller population. You can see last year that we graduated 29 students from Waxahachie High School of Choice. 1 has moved on to a 4-year public school. 4 are in 2-year public schools, 0 in independent colleges, 1 not trackable, and 23 not found. And so this report comes to us, it is on a public site, and they continue to track this information for us every year to give us insight as to how our students are performing when they leave us. And I want to remind everyone once again that the full 60-ish slide presentation is in board book. It is also available under required postings on our website. If you look under About Us, there is an extensive list of all of our campus improvement plans and our district improvement plan, as well as these reports. Board, can I answer questions for you related to this presentation?
Questions?
Okay, at this time, then I'd like, Mr. Autry, would you like to open this up to the public for commentary?
Absolutely. I was just going to remind everyone, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone that would like to step forward and have a comment or suggestion, now's the time to do so. Looks like we have no takers. At this time, I will close the public hearing. Any questions or comments for Ms. Blaylock? Okay.
I have something. I just wanted to remind the public that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but this is formally the AEIS report, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So this report is truly the best way to compare school district to school district. So many different entities want to try to compare them. This report right here is the best way. I mean, if you want to compare Waxahachie ISD to some other school district in the state, look up the TAPR. See, I'm familiar with it. Yeah. When did it change?
Good job, Ms. Starnader. You're correct. And if the public is interested, if you go to our district under About Us required postings, the access to the Texas Education Agency TAPR report search page is a live link. Cool. I made sure last night. So if anyone's interested, please go and check. It's a great opportunity for us to look at how others are performing and how outstanding we continue to do. We appreciate your support, board, very much.
Thank you. Okay, item 6 on our agenda is the consent agenda. We have 3 items, items A, B, and C. We can take these all at once. We can remove one if someone would like to discuss one individually, or we can vote to approve them all, whatever the discretion of the board is.
Mr. President, I move we approve the consent agenda items A, B, and C.
I'll second that. Been moved by Dr. Langley. It's been seconded by Mr. Schofield. Is there any other discussion?
Question.
Yes, sir.
Where is our second easement request?
Oh, that was, one required the board action, the other one to allow them on our property, as Mr. Abenshein explained, as long as we just wanted you to know and see if you had concerns. We don't need permission unless there's you'd like to. The board suggested Mr. Abenshein write, it's kind of like that letter that if you, as you suggested, if there's a.
Okay, I just didn't know if it was supposed to be included.
Yeah, no, that was, so far, it's a gentleman's agreement.
Okay.
Correct. We are giving a property interest to our property in front of Finley for the purpose of that water line and sewer line easement. And so we're giving that in perpetuity to the city of Waxahachie so long as it's used for public use. Whereas the permission, we just wanted to inform the board, seek the board's advice and counsel, but ultimately the permission that we're granting here on this property doesn't require a formal divestiture of any legal interest in the property. It can be revoked at any time.
Any other discussion? Okay, at this time, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, item number 7 be action item under budget and finance consideration possible action to explore options for central office annex complex to include purchase and relocate portable building, approved delivery method of sealed bids for project, approved delivery method of competitive sealed bid, proposal for project, approved delivery method of design build project. Mr. Calden.
Yes, sir. I'd like to open, if you don't mind.
No problem.
I had brought this to the board at the workshop, and we had talked about different options. The board was as concerned as we were about space, but at the same time, there were ideas of, is this a long-term solution to a short-term problem? it's a complicated problem because you don't know what's going to happen in the future. So we've talked about since the last meeting what would be the best thing with what we know at the time. So Mr. Calden is going to bring forth the administration's recommendation.
Thank you. I know the agenda item's a little bit rough, but we wanted to try to give as many options as we absolutely could so that the board could make a decision at their pleasure. Be the recommendation of the administration as we have worked up a draft sketch and draft plans of what the buildings could be to go with the competitive sealed proposal and identify that as the delivery method for this project. That would allow us the flexibility to make some changes to the design of the buildings in working with a contractor if some best value solutions could be engineered and would not have to scrap it all and go back out as we would with sealed bids, but also because most of the design has already kind of been done in-house, there would not be need for a wholesale start over with a design build method. So the administration recommendation would be the competitive sealed proposal method.
Mr. President, I'm very much aware of the need. I respect the administration's work. When we heard it last month, I had a few questions, but over the holidays thought a little bit about it a little bit more. I wanted to throw out a couple of things. I'm almost positive that Anthony Motlow was commissioned 1, 2, 3, 4 years ago, and he did a plan in this building that really matched up with the historical integrity. And by moving some walls, I think he had a plan to add 3 or 4 classrooms, offices, maybe 5. And I don't know that we really discussed that or we've talked about that. I've also thought about how over at the Hancock building, 650 capacity, we have 350 kids there. Would we want to maybe consider taking a hallway over there? There's one at least that has an outside entrance within steps of a sidewalk and a parking area. Would it be able to, we configure some office space over there? I know that's not ideal. Mm-hmm. I know it's not ideal being that way, but with, communication means today, that would eliminate some of it, and directors could come to the superintendent's office once a day or twice a week or 3 times. Superintendent can go over there. But maybe we could relocate some offices over there temporarily to buy some time. So I guess what I'm saying is, would it be wise to put a pause on this for a little bit and look at some of those other options before we take the action of spending any money or really going through some, bids and such as that? It may be after some consideration, this is the best option. But I'd like for us to, consider those other options, or at least be aware of those other options.
I have a comment, but if someone else wants to go first.
I'd like to throw you another ball. We've been working on an agri-science facility that we saved the money for to build through various means. I would like to think about this piece of property that we're sitting on right now. Of course, this building is integral to our community. Nobody wants to see anything happen to it. Right outside that window, there's all kinds of room going that direction. I would think the wisest one option and potential solution that we should look at would be what it would take for us to set some money back aside in a short order, a few years, and mirror this. You're in the center of the community. The place is going to do nothing but grow. It's once again in the center, so your ingress and egress from all the other schools to here is easy in relationship to driving down Paris Avenue with stoplights and all that. You can get here from multiple directions. We own that, and I think it's foolish to at least not consider utilization of that. Maybe it means for shorter, we got to put a temporary portable building behind the building for a few years as a stopgap measure to put something together to do it. But from a business standpoint, for example, if we went to with Dr. Langley's suggestion of school, and it may be the best solution, but I see going out to a school and remodeling it and using it, well, we're going to have to change that again. So we're going to have to pay twice.
insurance mind, looking at the square footage replacement cost of a building. Sounds like a lot of money when you say it, but you put $2.5 to $3 million, maybe not even that much right next door. You have it and you're done. The problem is solved for a growing community, and future board members that sit here don't have to come up with another idea of how to solve it. Just my 2 cents. I mean, and if you did that, I'm sure they would involve a stopgap measure back behind the building like we've talked about, or a hallway somewhere else for a period of time or something. But it's not, it sounds like a lot of money, but with our budget and our income stream, it's not. And by the time you plan it, put it together and do it, and of course you could build something that matches this building and looks nice. You have the infrastructure in place, and then that problem is solved and we go to the next problem. I hate to do things twice.
Okay.
Just my 2 cents.
So are you saying we could bring a portable building that could obviously be moved to other places, or are you saying do nothing until we can do the $2 million?
I'm just throwing a number out there because I know about the square footage replacement costs on an office. You know, the construction costs change all the time, but just as an idea, in today's market, if you had $3 million, I could go next door and build you a building that would suffice to your needs. Now, what will that be a couple of years from now? I mean, that's what we have to sit down and really brainstorm it. But the district owns some portable buildings already. All we have to do is pay to move them.
Do we still have some, or did we?
I think, or maybe I thought we saved a couple, didn't we?
But how much?
They all gone? I thought we saved one, but.
The ugliest one.
Well, I know the discussion at one point was to have the building and trade students basically build a temporary building that could be moved.
Yeah, those are portable too. And I mean, that works. You know,
I personally would be supportive of that if we had a long-term plan to build a permanent facility on this property. Because let's be honest, this building was great when we were 2A, 3A, 4A, but our staff has increased, but our building hasn't. And at some point, we're going to have to address that. And I think it's I don't know, is it a 3-year commitment that you start putting money back to build it? I don't know. That's your job. And but I think that accomplishes 2 things. One, it shows the taxpayers we don't have to come to you for a bond every time we want to build something. And 2, it allows us to utilize this building in addition to another one on the property we already have. Just my take.
And I hate to see us ever get into a situation of bond funds if we don't have to, especially on a building that, honestly, it's not for kids. We house people.
I agree. Whatever we have to do in the short term, whether it be a hallway or a couple of portable buildings with shop kids, I more have the position of planning for something more permanent, a twin building out here on the slot. As soon as we finish the ag building, that needs to be a priority, in my opinion.
And we could make a priority starting for next year's budget.
Okay.
When we're gonna have to come up with a number, obviously.
But whatever we have to do
goal.
in the meantime to get us another 4 or 5 offices for the interim, not interim, but the interim.
The real interim. So am I hearing that, y'all make motions, but so what I'm hearing is if we change the motion to that we would be able to buy the portable buildings that we need, literally the portable buildings that we're all thinking of until then.
What does a portable building cost?
If we can find one relatively close by to get it moved, set up, skirted, fire alarm, all that fun stuff connected to it, about 30 grand.
Because I think model's remodel of this would be 4 times that, 5 times that.
But what would it cost? I can't remember what the cost was on having the building and trades students do.
That's a time thing. I mean,
I understand, and I'm not going to be.
Not that much. Not that much.
I wouldn't be in support of doing anything until we have a long-term plan of where we're going.
Yes, sir. The building trades, to answer your question, was about the same, about 30,000, 32,000 in that same ballpark.
But the time schedule of that was what?
Like 1 building
a year.
2 a year.
Okay.
But in reality, how many of them would we need though if we had a 3-year plan to build this? You don't need to build the whole congregation back there like we discussed before.
But the advantage of the portable building is once this new building is The portable building can be moved somewhere else and we can still use it.
And the shop kids building could be moved too.
Is that it's movable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Kane, what do you foresee the immediate and 2 to 3 year need being? 4 offices, 5 offices?
Well, the immediate need is, like, we're about to hire an HR director, and the board, felt very strongly that that's one area that we need to
Be here.
The audit. So that needs to be here more than obviously fine arts. I mean, fine arts can be over there with, what do we call that building? The curriculum
Hancock.
building? The Hancock. Is that the college?
Well, where Global is, it was what Joe recommended.
No, curriculum is in the back part of.
Curriculum's behind Coleman.
Oh, okay.
Right there on Indian Drive, behind HEB.
Okay, yes. But anyway, that wouldn't be as necessary.
But he asked where curriculum was. Curriculum was in the back part of Coleman.
That's where I'm thinking.
But I think Joe's recommendation was Hancock.
Right.
Well, but fine arts would.
Because there's capacity there.
But I think the curriculum office is becoming the ancillary, the auxiliary office kind of far, because I think as we grow, that would be the logic. It'd be better for those to be in one place than in 2 places, because like we could have meetings and go over there actually instead of them coming over here.
I realize it would not be ideal to be at 2 locations. I know that. But I was trying to think through who would you move. I mean, you got to have finances here with the superintendent.
Well, that whole
It'd be
floor.
inconvenient, but, what if some other departments move, but they just start their day, the primary leaders there come over and meet with you,
Right.
starting the day, or every morning at 10:30, they're over here.
Correct. The PEMS office, I mean, the living room code issue we keep talking about obviously is going to call for, we need somebody in charge of PEMS, because right now, that's causing us all kinds of grief. And as the district grows and PEMS becomes more and more important, because everything Ms. Blaylock presented is based on the accuracy of PEMS, that would probably be an office. So, but that's growing because of size, because we're growing. As the district grows, the more we're challenged, the more our needs are. And so the logical thing would be to put, until we could come up with something here, because I also know that the most unpopular things you can do as taxpayers is to build a football stadium and a central office. I mean, it doesn't matter how much people agree it's needed. It's just an emotional issue. It's not, it's hard to convince a community you need that. So I'm not sympathetic to the board's wanting to spend the money very wisely and permanently. And so if we could do a temporary solution to that, the most, to me, cost effective, that for the ones that need to be here, I feel strongly that HR needs to be here. Not to lessen the importance of fine arts, but actually the fine arts person, as with the curriculum people, aren't even supposed to be in their offices. They're supposed to be on campuses working with staffs and teachers. So I appreciate you're trying to accommodate the need for meetings, but Ms. Blaylock's tried to make certain the people who really need to be on campuses more than not are there, but HR would not. So that could be, PEMS actually, they don't need to be on campuses, but that's not an office you visit a lot. I mean, they've got a job to do and it's crunching numbers, it's kind of like the business office. Now, as far as the business office actually needs that. They're expanding just because bigger payroll, more requisitions. So they actually need that little meeting area over there, not where you meet, but across, what do we call that?
No, break room.
Break room.
Mhm.
He needs that just for his office expansion. So we need a break room just for our staff. So I actually think if we had 2 portable buildings, it would probably take, if you gave us one, we could probably do HR and, well, PEMS could go over there, the break room, but it would be, what we're trying to do with the human resources office, and a little meeting area. See, right now, when someone comes, we have to ask Mike Morgan if he'd go on the campus so we could meet in his office. Today, we were in, how many people were in that office, sitting around that little bitty
7 or
table?
8.
7 or 8.
There's no question.
So if we could have 2 portable buildings, that would take care, and then we would bring you a solution that what I'm hearing is would be involving adding on or doing something next door to land we already own.
Just personally, if you're asking for portable buildings, I want a permanent plan at the same time. It's the first time I can remember there hadn't been a portable building in WISD.
Okay.
Am I right? I don't know of any campuses. For the first time since I can remember.
In my mind, a portable building, I drive up to WSD central office, portable building, that's okay, especially or with the requirement that there's a plan. But to build something that's, it's kind of permanent, but kind of temporary.
Kind of hard to take, yeah.
And I think Jacob and them would probably do a pretty good job.
Yeah.
It looked pretty good.
And our
but
kids would.
it would be hard to keep that up looking good at the level of the other buildings we have, unless we brick it and all that, and then you're making it permanent.
Okay.
I love Clay's idea. I had thought about a building out behind, but that's even better, putting it right side
There's
to
not,
side.
with the
That's
flood,
great.
I spent quite a bit of time with,
Yeah.
I can pull up the flood maps in my office. I get to do it.
So that's not in flood right
You don't
there?
have, it won't work back
But that
here.
right there
That
would
over
work,
there
and that would look
and
better
that-
too.
And that,
And your idea of mirroring it, or at least something very complementary to this
At the
building,
side.
would be great. I think then when people come to consider working at WSD, that's pretty impressive. You've commented to me so many times what a good job the district has done over the years taking care of their buildings. It's a
Have we
point of
gotten our
pride.
money's worth out of Walman? Have we gotten our
Yeah,
money's
it's a
worth out
point
of
of pride how nice our buildings look, and I like to maintain
It's
that.
also kind of matches the neighborhood.
Yeah, Mr. Calden?
Yes,
If we're looking at a temporary solution now and then planning for something more permanent, say it's a year, 2 years out, the property we have by the high school now that we looked at earlier, just the residential portion of that, based on those comps, will bring us about $1 million today if it follows suit with those other pieces of real estate that have sold out there. Logically, you think in a couple of years, once those houses come online, the value, assuming the market stays the same, will continue to increase a little bit. Would it be feasible if we sell some commercial spots at some point in time to utilize those funds into something like this?
Absolutely. I mean, those funds would be, at the pleasure of the board. You're talking, I don't really know what that time frame is going to be in terms of the selling of those lots, if it happens, all that fun stuff. So there would be some to meet the more immediate need of space for the administration. If you went ahead and traveled that route, there would be some funding lag in terms of recouping costs by disposing of land, or it's going to be more investment into portable buildings now, just to have to remove them later on once lots could be potentially sold, to use those funds to build a satellite office or a secondary office, if you will. So the answer to your question is yes, those funds could be utilized for that purpose, but they will present their own little challenges depending on whichever route you go.
What is I saw this last month, what's our fund balance right
Right about 28 million.
now?
$1 million of that.
Right, the state would require us 20 million right now, so we
Yes,
have
sir.
more than the state requires.
That's 28 million of uncommitted, right?
27 of spendable fund balance. $1 million of that's tied up in items that we'd prepaid in terms of expenditures. And yes, sir, there is 4 million in committed funds. So that 27 minus 4 would be right about 23 million.
And we have to keep.
Yes, sir.
What I'm saying is, it wouldn't be a big deal to set aside $1 million.
I'm not opposed to set aside, he's the one with the numbers, I'm not.
Yeah.
I
My
don't know
point
the
is, we
percentages how
could
it works.
do it, it wouldn't be a 10-year.
Realistically, if you're gonna build something like that, it's gonna take you 2 years. You started on it today, it'd take 2, by the time you designed it, drew it, built it. Like, I don't know how much.
Well, and you would look at your demographic study and see because our build-out enrollment number will tell you how big your central office is. I mean, it's just handed up, so it would be built with the idea of, let's build it with a plan of, this is how big it's gonna be, and don't build it that big, but build it knowing you gotta add on to that amount.
I just hate to see it run around willy-nilly with no plan. Wherever it takes us.
Do you purchase portable buildings or rent them? What's a common practice?
Really, you're buying them and you're having them relocated.
Give them away.
Essentially, you're buying a zero asset at that point, because when you are ready to get rid of them, they're pretty much worth nothing. So for the most part, that 30 number is buying someone else's used portable building. And depending on the quality you get when it gets here, you're ready to get rid of it the second it arrives. Typically, we can find some good ones though, but they're not, those buildings are not made to be 15, 30-year permanent portables. They're really, by the time you get them used, loved in another district and you get them moved here and loved in a little bit, they're pretty much about 5-year buildings before you need to consider replacement or go.
We want to move them 3 times most.
No.
Really, that's not
Yep.
good.
No. After it gets that first initial set in, by the time you've moved it once, you're pretty much in that last third or so of its expected useful life at that point. And then you're coming up with creative alternatives if you need to move it again as to the usefulness of that building.
So how would you like to proceed? Open to suggestions?
Well, I'd like to, I'll make a motion here in a moment if you want me to. I'd like for us to postpone any action on this out here and maybe ask Mr. Autry to appoint a committee, certainly include some administration, maybe a board member too, to look into this and come up with a permanent solution, at least a proposal for a permanent solution.
I think you could come up with a proposal pretty quick and then address the immediate need pretty quick.
We actually have a motion to postpone this item.
Okay, I'll make what I just said. I'll make it a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, is there any other discussion?
My only concern is, does Dr. Kane need something done now? I mean, as far as another office or two, you know.
Maybe,
Well, actually, it's, you know, we start with the question of the board. If the board's saying, make do, I guarantee you this staff will make do and make the absolute best of it. They are a staff that we will have the HR office, and I'm trying to think of things now, but there's, you know, nooks and crannies, and we can do that, or some people are going to have to move to the curriculum office, or what I'm calling the curriculum office. We need to name that place over there. Because you talk about a big place. I was actually not visiting that. I was looking to the high school of choice. That is a big building with a lot of rooms in it. And I didn't have an idea at the time how much has been built out, because I don't think the curriculum people, is every office filled? Did we just build enough offices for what we needed for curriculum?
No, ma'am. There are 2 empty conference rooms that can and will eventually be transformed into offices when those become necessary. And then in addition to that, there are 2 empty director's offices that have not been filled. We have space in that building. Like, we can most definitely utilize
So
it.
we will decide, and we'll talk about what would be best to stay here and what would be best to move. I mean, you're right, we can't move the business office. I mean, it's just.
Mr. Caldwell, I have a question. Last year, I believe, we approved for you to build all the extra offices within this building. Have they been built?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so would that give you some more office space?
Extra offices in this building, you said?
was that approved to do, or was it just to get the
I know that
plans?
plans were developed and passed around. Honestly, I'd have to go back and look at it.
See, I don't remember actually seeing plans, but do you remember seeing plans, Kim? I thought we just commissioned him to do so, and I think we paid him to do so, if I remember correctly, but man, that's been a couple of years ago.
And one thing about this, I mean, it is a nice building, and it's an old building. I don't know, I mean, I don't know how many times it's been remodeled. I mean, and hats off, because we've spent this much. But yeah, I think it would be, I mean, I can't imagine this room being any smaller. Your ladies, it's like they're in those tiny houses, but they're like tiny offices. But let us look at it. And
Well, we have a motion and a second to postpone, so
Okay.
if there's any more discussion, not one
Thank
discussion.
you
But
for.
Just one more discussion, what Mr. Rogers said. If part of the plan is you come to us in February and say, we found some space over at High School of Choice, or part of the plan is we located 2 portable buildings and they cost X amount, and we can have them here in 10 days, you know.
Yeah, she answered my concern was there's space available for immediate if we needed it today or tomorrow.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Board.
Okay. Item number 8, this time the board will admit to closed session according to Texas Education Code, section 551.001 et sec. It is 9:22.
You gonna let everybody powder their noses?
Oh, yeah.
These things are heavy. These are nice. They did that. As well they should. As well they should.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Tonight, we have a recommendation to approve the hire of 5 contract employees and acknowledge the resignation or retirement of 2 employees. It's been presented to you by your superintendent, and I would urge your approval at this time.
Heard the presentation. So I have a motion to approve the HR report.
Motion to approve HR report as presented.
A motion by Mr. Rogers, I'll second by Ms. Starnader. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Mr.
Before I entertain a motion to adjourn, I do want to say happy birthday to one of our colleagues that's sitting up here. I think he turned the big 4-0 yesterday. Am I right? Am I right? Was that yesterday? Was it yesterday? Saturday. Sorry, Saturday. I'm a day behind, but I just want to say happy birthday to Mr. McCutcheon. Okay.
How many over the hill balloons did you get? Really? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear John. Happy birthday to you.
Now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I learned that in the global fire department.
You want to do a motion to adjourn, Mr. McCutcheon?
I'll make the motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Is there a second?
Now that you're an old man, you're probably ready to go.
Second by Dr. Langley. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0.